To help you on your papers this week, I thought I would go over with you the rubric that you have been given online for the persuasive paper, as well as an example essay that helps to exemplify this rubric, as well as the expectations that you have for the paper itself. So I hope that you find this information helpful. If you would like help with your individual essay, of course, don't hesitate to email it to me. Be sure that you get it to me by Wednesday night so that I can work on it Thursday and get it back to you so that you can use Friday and Saturday to revise it one or two more times before you turn it in Saturday night. So again, I hope that you find this helpful. And if you ever have any questions, of course, you know that you can always email me and I will try to clarify things for you further. So this is the rubric for the persuasive essay. Hopefully it should look familiar to you. I hope for each writing assignment that you've had so far this quarter that you have looked at these rubrics and really focused on the elements that you're being graded on. Up to this point, you may recall or have noticed that each rubric kind of focused on some different areas than the one before. So like on your last essay, it focused on introductions and support and conclusions, and that's what I graded you on. Whereas previously there were elements like organization and transitions, things like that. So your rubrics have changed. Again, I don't know if you remember this or noticed this, but at this point, for the persuasive essay, everything is being drawn together. So you're now being assessed for everything that you have learned so far in the writing lessons. And it's all coming together as a whole. So instead of focusing on just introductions, support, and conclusions, you're now being throwing in organization and focus in addition to your introduction, conclusion, your support, your thesis statement, things like that. So that's why I wanted to go over this with you. At this point, you need to be pulling everything together instead of focusing on just one or two writing elements at a time. So for your thesis statement, you want to make sure that you have a very clear sentence that defines your stance on an issue or a problem solution, if that's the route that you're going in your paper. You have to have this statement. If you don't have this statement, your entire paper is just going to become unraveled. It's not going to be tied together in any way. And at this level of writing, I'm not usually a real stickler when it comes to where your thesis is, because technically you could put your thesis at the beginning of your paper, it could be at the end, it could be somewhere in the middle, and that's totally fine. However, at this level of writing, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to put it in your introduction. That's where I'm going to look for it. If you want to be more creative, that's fine. But again, I really, really suggest that you keep it in your introduction until you become more comfortable with writing and maybe, take higher level writing courses. So I'm certainly not going to grade you down if it's not in your introduction, but red flags are going to go up if I don't see it there, because I think when some people try to challenge themselves and put their thesis somewhere else, but what happens is that they forget to put it anywhere else. So you've got to be really, really careful of that. So make sure before you start, really drafting and revising toward your final draft, you have to pinpoint where this thesis statement is. If you can't find it, then of course that's a problem. And even sometimes students think that they have one and they really, really don't. So if you want me to look for your thesis statement, by all means, point that out when you send me your paper, and I'd be happy to do that. So just make sure that it is very clear, very specific, very well written, so that your reader has no doubt as to what your position or solution is. I think that's all I want to say. Oh, one last thing about thesis statements. Technically, a thesis statement can be, 1, 2, 3 sentences long. Again, I really encourage you to make it one sentence long, because I think sometimes when students try to break their thesis statements into 2 sentences, they lose focus, so that their first sentence and their second sentence don't match, and they think, oh, well, both of them are my thesis statement. But really, if they're not completely related, it's going to weaken your thesis statement overall. So I encourage you to put it in your introduction, and I encourage you to make it one sentence long and not 2. Okay, when it comes to support, we just worked on support in the last paper. Make sure that you're using reasons, examples, facts, personal experiences, whatever types of evidence you can, but also make sure that you use more than one. If you only use personal experience in your essay, it's going to be weaker than if you put in some examples and facts, statistics, things like that, because then you're basing your entire argument only on your personal experience. And I would like you to do higher level writing than that. So make sure you draw in some type of research or something else other than just your personal experience, because personal experience tends to lead to opinion. This is not an opinion paper, it's an argument. So make sure you use different types of support, not just one. And then, of course, make sure in your paragraphs that all of your support and all of your paragraphs focus on your argument, support your thesis in some way, and are well developed and well explained. Do not leave your reader to try to figure out what your facts and statistics mean. You need to tell them what it means and how it furthers your argument. Make sure you have a title, make sure it's creative, make sure it's engaging, so that, from the very get-go, your reader wants to keep reading your paper. Your introduction needs to be the same. If your introduction is dry and boring, if you were to hand this to someone mentally, they're going to check out because they don't want to read what you have to say. You want to engage them. You want to keep their attention. You want them to want to keep reading, okay? Not to do it because they have to. So give good background information, give any good context that you need in order to establish what your topic is, guide your reader down to what specifically you're arguing, which is of course your thesis statement, and then move into your body paragraphs. So again, make sure that your introduction is engaging for your reader. You don't want them to be bored. You don't want them to be confused. So make sure that you're providing enough information, but not too much. Make sure that your information is focused and that everything leads down to your thesis statement. Your conclusion needs to be, the same thing. You need to remind them what your argument was. You need to tie up everything, show how every point that you make relates. That doesn't mean you go, point by point, but you wrap everything up. You draw everything together, big picture wise, not, well, this point and this point and this point and this point. You don't need to rehash everything. Just draw your paper to a close in general. Your introduction and your conclusion need to be more general in nature, whereas your body paragraphs are going to get more specific because that's the support that you use to prove your point. So if that helps a little bit, your introduction and conclusion are kind of zoomed out a little bit, whereas your body paragraphs are zoomed in. And make sure you end powerfully, make sure you end on a good note, don't introduce new information, and have a really powerful ending. Focus and organization. Make sure that everything in your paper is focused on your topic and your argument. If you go off of that, your reader's going to wonder what you're doing, where you're going, and what kind of point you're trying to make. So make sure that each paragraph is focused on your introduction, one point at a time, not your introduction, your thesis statement. So your paragraph itself needs to be focused on that one main idea that it's about. And of course, that one main idea needs to be directly related to your thesis statement. Make sure you use transitions to create unity, to tie everything together. You're literally tying your paper together through those transitions, and that's why they are so very important. So use the resources that you've gotten in the class to make sure that your transitions are in place. So you need to transition from paragraph to paragraph, as well as sentence to sentence and idea to idea. Of course, the grammar mechanics is always in place. Make sure that you've got good formatting. Make sure that you've revised and edited well. I've been pretty happy with all of the grammar that I've seen in your writing so far this semester. So just keep up the great work there. I'm really pleased with that area. Make sure your paper's long enough. Make sure you use the proper font. Keep your paper neat, organized. Put your name and information on it. Use page numbers, things like that. Okay, so here is the rubric. So let's move on to the paper itself. All right, so this is one of the example papers that has been listed with the description of the writing assignment. I believe it's the first one. So the first thing I want you to notice is the formatting. Look how neat and clean it is. Please make sure that your papers are this way. We have not stressed formatting in this course, but I would appreciate if you could make an effort to make your papers nice and neat, because sometimes they're a bit of a mess. So make sure that you've got a heading, make sure you have a title, that's part of your grade. And then make sure all of your paragraphs are indented so that I know when your paragraphs, are changing, because sometimes that's really, really hard to see if you don't indent. So again, note the format and please imitate it by all means. Notice the title, Doggone It, Drummer Boy Park. That's a great title. It lets you know, okay, what's this about? Is it about dogs? It's about a park? What's going on here? So it automatically engages your reader. So in this paper, it's got a 2-paragraph introduction. I'm not going to read all of this to you. I don't have time for that before my video program shuts down. But I'm going to attach this to the email, so make sure you go back and look at it. But in the first paragraph, it's providing context information as to what this park is, how big it is, when it was established, things like that. So it's giving you good context information. And then, with the word unfortunately, it transitions into the problem that this paper is going to focus on. Okay? Then in the second introductory paragraph, it discusses the solutions. And then toward the end, it's got the thesis statement. So this is the student's thesis statement. The most fiscally responsible option is to provide the dogs limited access to the park. This is a compromise that is acceptable to most dog owners. Okay, this is a 2-sentence thesis statement. It's okay. I think it could be better, but at least it's there and in place. So I wrote a revised thesis if it were to be 1 sentence and were written a little more flowingly. So this is my thesis statement. While each of these 3 options have their advantages, the best and most fiscally responsible solution is to provide dogs limited access to the park, as it forms a compromise between park users as well as dog owners. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference here, but I want you to sit back and analyze how this introduction works and the information that's included in it. So moving on really quickly, here's a transition into the first body paragraph. One prospective plan is to build a dog park at a separate site. Okay. They then move into this body, or the support in the body of the paragraph. You can see right now that it's using quotes, using numbers and facts. The word transition, or the word however, is a transition from, well, here's the solution. However, this is not as it could be. Oh, wait, I added this transition. Okay. So it says, those in favor of this option suggest that this would provide a larger area for the dogs to run free. This location is more than 5 miles. So what they're doing is they're moving from the general information to their argument. So if they just had included the word however, the reader would have known that. So I apologize. I added the however. That's why it's in red. So that shows you just how important transitions are and what happens if you don't use them. Again, topic sentence, great. You know that this paragraph is going to be about building a dog area on the actual grounds of Drummer Boy Park. So while this is a better solution than creating a separate park, it is not the best option. And then they explain why. These body paragraphs are very well laid out. Again, the best option is a 2-fold solution. This is their solution to the problem that they have. The topic sentence tells you that. This says one source of concern. I think this is a little confusing because I think it should say like one part, like down here it says the second part of this plan. So one source of concern shows that, something's wrong with this, but I don't think that's what they're actually doing. Oh, never mind. It is the first part of the solution. So they're okay. So I'm going to erase that. You just ignore that comment. So this is just explanation. The first part of the solution is written here, and then here's the second part of the solution. And then let's see here. So here's the conclusion. It needs a transition to signal that it's a conclusion. I also think that this conclusion could use a little bit of development. So give it a read, see what you think about it, see how it could end more powerfully and what information the student could have added to it. So overall, I think that this is a good example, especially when it comes to the body paragraphs, because each body paragraph has a topic sentence and support. Topic sentence, support. Topic sentence, support. Okay, and they're staying focused on their thesis. So overall, this is a good example to follow. So see how you could imitate this in your own persuasive paper so that it too is effective. Again, if you have any questions, let me know, or if you'd like me to look over a draft sometime this week, just get it to me by Wednesday night, and I would be more than happy to do that for you. So have a great week and enjoy your writing.